Hello students, this is Alisha, your mathematics teacher, and in the last video we have studied about the geometry part 6, in which we have studied about the point, line and line segment. Now further moving in this chapter, we are going to study more about geometry. So there is one topic known as symmetry. Now what is symmetry? A thing or an object is said to be symmetrical when both of its halves are exactly the same. That means if any figure is given to you and if you divide the figure into half equal on both the sides, then both the sides should look exactly the same. Now as we see in the mirror, if you stand in front of the mirror, you will see exact the same reflection of yours on the mirror as well. So in the same way, symmetry is when you divide it into half, both the sides should look exactly the same. So let's have a look at one example of a symmetrical figure. So here in the first one, if you see, there's a circle. Here this is the line that makes the circle or cuts the circle into two equal parts. Now if you see, both the sides are exactly the same. There is no difference in the size or shape of the side of the circle, that is both the sides of the circle. So that is something that is known as symmetry. That means both the sides look exactly the same. Now if you see the rest of the figures as well, the middle line that is cutting the shape is known as a symmetrical line. So that line is something that cuts the figure into half, the figure or the object into half, and when it cuts the object into half, both the sides should look the same. If both the sides doesn't look same, it is not a symmetrical object or it is not a symmetrical figure. So for the thing or the object to be known as symmetrical, it has to look exactly the same when you cut it into half. So if you can have a look at the rest of the figures here, the heart shape, the square shape, the triangle shape, when you have a symmetrical line in between, both the sides look alike. They are not different in size, they are not different in shape. So therefore these figures are symmetrical figures. So the symmetrical line or the line is also known as line of symmetry. So you can call it a symmetrical line or you can also call it as line of symmetry. That is something which cuts the figure into half and makes the figure symmetrical. So these are more examples of symmetric. As you can see, there's an apple, arrow, butterfly, flower, heart, house, a beetle, and aeroplane. So when you're cutting this line into a line of symmetry, you can see all these figures have the same exact part on the other side itself. So these are symmetrical figures. Now, as you can see in the picture, these are the two figures. One is a symmetric figure, another is an asymmetric figure. Now, a symmetric figure, you all know, as I explained just now, a line of symmetry that is drawn in between cuts the figure into half and the figure looks exactly the same on the other side. But in case of asymmetric figure, you can see if you're cutting the line into half and if the figure is different, if it doesn't look the same, then it is known as a symmetric figure. So you have understood the difference between symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric is something that when you draw a line of symmetry, it looks the same. Both the sides look exactly the same. Whereas in case of asymmetric, both the sides look different. Even though when you draw a line of symmetry, both the sides look different. One more example of symmetrical and asymmetrical, you can see there is a kind of a Christmas tree which when you cut it into half, that is line of symmetry. In symmetrical you can see both the sides are equal, whereas if you see in asymmetrical, both the sides look different. Why? Because the figure is different, and when you draw a line of symmetry, both the sides look different. So therefore it is an asymmetrical figure. So now let's move on to the exercise 7e. The first question is tick the figures that are symmetrical. So symmetrical, remember, symmetrical is something which when you cut it into half or when you draw a line of symmetry from the between, both the sides have to look same including the shape and the size. Remember, the shape and the size both has to be exactly the same as both the other side. Okay, so let's have a look at the first figure here. You can see this side, when you draw a line of symmetry, this side is a bit longer and this side a bit shorter. So this is not a symmetrical. So you cross mark. Why? Because this side is a bit longer and this side is a shorter one. So this is not symmetry. As I said, symmetry should look same on both the sides. This doesn't look the same. So this is asymmetrical. Next, we have a wheel. When we draw a line of symmetry, this dotted line, both the sides look the same. So therefore, this is a symmetrical figure. So you understood the difference? Both the sides looking the same is a symmetrical figure. Both the sides not looking the same is an asymmetrical figure. So therefore, you cross mark for the first one and tick mark for the second one. Moving to the next one here again. There's a line of symmetry and there are two sides, but both the sides look different. So therefore, it is not symmetrical. So you call it as asymmetrical figure. Next, we have a boat. Boat again, when you draw a line of symmetry, both the sides look the same. Yes, both the sides look the same. So therefore, it is a symmetrical figure. Again, we have one more shape here wherein the symmetrical line is drawn in a horizontal way. This is a horizontal symmetrical line or a line of symmetry. Whatever it is, whether the line is vertical in this way or the line is horizontal in this manner, but you have to see how the line is and what the two sides look like. If they look exactly the same, then it is symmetrical. If they look different, then it is asymmetrical. So in this case, again, in this third figure, the line is drawn horizontally and both the sides do not look the same. So therefore, it is asymmetrical. So you tick mark, because they have said tick the figures that are symmetrical. So we have tick marked the figures that are symmetrical and we have cross marked the ones which are asymmetrical. So we'll move on with this topic in our next video. Thank you.